Kia ora koutou, ko Joe Trinder taku ingoa, ko Aotearoa taku iwi. Now, in 1975, I was raised down in Dunedin, Otago, and I was playing in my Pākehā auntie's backyard, and a man walked past, and he yelled out to my Pākehā family, and he yelled at them, he called them nigger lovers, just because there was a young child that was playing in their backyard. In 1972, my grandfather flew from here in Auckland down to Otago in Dunedin, and he went into a pub in South Dunedin, and he went and asked the bartender. He said to the bartender, "Oh, could I please have a beer?" And the bartender turned around to him and says, "We don't serve blacks." My grandfather had fought in the 2/8 Māori Battalion, had fought in North Africa and Italy, and got shot serving his nation. But he was still a second-class citizen in his own country in 1972. Now, people probably say, that's the 70s, all that discrimination, it's all over now. I'm afraid it's no longer over. All that's happened is that discrimination against Māori New Zealanders has just become more sophisticated. So, hate groups like Hobson's Pledge, they now have a vast range of strategies of how they perform that discrimination. So, one of their first strategies is they adjust New Zealand history. They have what we call colonisation justification myths. So, before Eastern Polynesians arrived in 1350 AD, according to them, the Welsh arrived, the Romans, the Greeks, the Melanesians, the North Americans, the Australians, all these other civilizations arrived before Māori and had set up a vast civilization of millions of people across New Zealand. Now, when Māori arrived, evidently according to the scholars of Hobson's Pledge, they exterminated all of these other civilizations of millions of people, but they didn't have to just exterminate them, they had to destroy them forensically. So no historian could find any remains. There were no Caucasoid skulls to find or any reminder that there was a pre-Polynesian civilization here. So they went through to extraordinary effort to destroy all archaeological evidence of all these civilizations. Then when they describe Māori history, you got people like Barry Bissett or Larry Bissett, whatever he calls himself these days. They like to adjust New Zealand history so that all it equals is British colonial benevolence. So what they're demanding is that Māori New Zealanders only ever be grateful for the British conquest and the invasion of the Waikato because of the new technologies. Now, everyone's heard of treaty settlements and the discrimination that Māori go through about being accused over treaty settlements. Well, I'm here to tell you the anti-treaty settlement gravy train is worth millions. It's worth a truckload. So recently we had Māori wards, and on those wards we tried to win one Māori ward on 4 different city councils. And they had a campaign of $1 million to shut that down on us. You may have heard of Andrew Judd. Well, he's on our side, and he wanted to get Māori wards through. But they had a campaign of $1 million to conduct racism. So I've been studying the anti-Māori hate groups for a while, and one of the things that I noticed, there was a real common theme about them. They also had a disdain of Māori New Zealanders, but they also had a disdain for another group of New Zealanders, and it was Muslim New Zealanders who were based on a religion. So they can't stand the religion of Islam, and I don't know why. I can't figure out why they would be against it, because the September 11th attacks, they didn't seem like they were an attack on Christianity to me. They seemed like they or an attack on American foreign policy. And so what I notice with the people that hate Māori, the hate groups like Hobson's Pledge, they seem to hate ethnic minorities, they seem to have a mistrust of Islam, and so they also don't like immigrants, but not all immigrants. They're quite fine with British immigrants if you come from Britain, but if you're an immigrant of colour from one of the former British colonies, well, they're not so keen on you. So they're really selective on what type of immigrant that they want into this nation. So what I notice with this is they are a minority, and all of us ethnic and religious minorities, we're actually the majority. So combined, if we all become each other's Facebook friends and we all work together, then we can start to call them out on their fake histories, their colonisation of our people. So what I'm suggesting is when Stefan Molyneux and Lauren Southern turn up to Aotearoa to have their little hate conference, is that we go on the outside and we do a haka so loud that they can't hear what's going on in the inside. Kia ora, thank you.